So, what do you do if you love Lego, but you also love the sci-fi Victorian concept known as steampunk?
There's not much you can do. Lego hasn't touched that jar either in the current batch of themes or past ones.
Well, Lego are about to release a steampunk minifig as part of their next collectible series next year. One minifig does not a theme make, Gigi.
Put simply, these two interests don't line up.
Technically, you're right, which is where the company known as FunWhole comes in.
Open your fun hole. We're going in.
So steampunk is an imagined fantastical time of advanced vehicles, clockwork mechanisms, cogs everywhere, and a notion that the world could have been so different if only the people who invented the penny farthing had led an unrestricted technological revolution.
And FunWhole have embraced that world as an inspiration for one of their themes. Except it's been slow going. I mean, what did they start with? An ore train and a train station in 2022? And those didn't even have minifigs.
That's because FunWhole minifigs didn't come into play until the following year in 2023.
Which was when they released a car, a trade center, and
the subject of this review, the Airship Lightcatcher. And unlike the train and the train station, this one comes fully crewed with 3 characters. An airship fully embraces the concept of imagined advanced Victorian-era technology as the world took to the air in incredible flying machines. As a lover of sci-fi, how could we not take a look at it, as, unlike Lego's business decision to retire sets quickly, this one's still available for sale over a year after its launch.
Heck, even the train and the station are still available.
Many thanks to FunWhole for sending us a copy of the Airship to review. As with the other sets from that company that we've had a look at so far, FunWhole don't skimp on presentation. The set comes in a beautiful box, similar to how those from the Lego Ideas theme used to come in.
Only better. The experience is truly excellent, with a beautifully printed thick cardboard box. This isn't something you can just casually cast aside.
And as is customary with FunWhole, this set comes with a lighting kit and mostly printed tiles. Mostly? Well, the company hadn't yet embraced the notion of printed tiles back then. So, while there are some prints, like those wood effect ones, a handful of other decorative parts come in the shape of a small sheet which you'll have to apply yourself. They look tiny and... Are you sure they're stickers? Well spotted, Gigi. They're not actually stickers. They're decals. Decals? Yeah. You remove a square from the sheet, apply it to a tile, and transfer the pattern onto it by applying some pressure upon contact.
That sounds tricky.
Yeah, stickers are bad enough, but these are even worse, frankly.
Hang on a second. Some of these look mighty tiny.
You're right, McCluck. You're expected to apply those onto 1x1 round tiles.
Ugh! Not even Lego would do that to their customer. Tiny decals? What were they thinking?
You've got to bear in mind that this set is from 2023. Since then, FunWhole has learned quickly and, unlike Lego, they saw the error of their ways, and more recent sets now come with entirely printed decorations. These decals are probably the worst part of this set. Despite this, though, the Airship's build, which is composed of a not insubstantial 1,641 pieces, has instructions that were very easy to follow, with number bags which didn't contain too many parts, meaning it was easy to keep track of the ones you had to deal with at all times. You build from the ground up, starting with a base made up of Technic-like pieces.
I recognize many of them, but a few others look quite different to what we have over on the Lego side of the aisle.
They are different, like those wedge parts which I'd never seen before. Now, it's fair to say that I've never really been much of a fan of Technic sets, but we do encounter a good number of those pieces when building Lego spaceships and such. Yet despite that, I never saw parts like these before. Always fun to be introduced to new pieces. Can't argue with that. But good though this set is, it's not all sunshine, lollipops and rainbows.
Now we're getting to the interesting part.
Okay, I accept that a steampunk ship will be primarily made out of wood, so the model will be mostly brown. I'm fine with that, and FunWhole even have multiple shades of brown peppered throughout the ship, which is great. But take step 95 as an example. That step is part of a series of bags that contain a bunch of these curved pieces in 3 different shades of brown, making it tricky to make sure you pick the right ones at any given time.
Especially since the colors in the instructions aren't exactly the same as those on the parts.
Yeah, that really does not help when the colors are so close. Another issue is the model's fragility. Now, don't get me wrong, in terms of strengthening the whole ship, I feel FunWhole did a better job with the Airship than they did with the Antique Store, which was released a year later. But that doesn't mean it's flawless. Case in point is step 104. Now, don't be fooled by these long extension bars which look like the perfect handles to hold the ship when manipulating it or turning it around. Don't do that. They break far too easily.
Duly noted.
And you know how tricky it was for me to connect the Antique Store's lighting system, right?
Boy, you went on and on about it.
Well, here we had the nightmare of having to feed an electrical cable through the underside to the top of the ship, then through a brick's Technic hole, under the deck, and to the back of the ship.
The stern.
Yeah, thanks.
You'd think a captain should know that.
I do. Thank you. So, praise be Cthulhu, FunWhole provided these handy tweezers. I don't know how I would have done it without them.
When it comes to cables, this airship was designed before FunWhole introduced its specialized bricks through which you could feed cables through.
Indeed. So instead of that, you have to secure them under regular plates, tiles, and bricks.
Couldn't that potentially damage the cables?
That was always on my mind, so it's best to be as careful as you can when doing so. And actually, I think there's a potential error in the instructions. You see, on step 165, you're supposed to conceal a long cable under a series of tiles and then afterwards attach a transparent brick to the ship's bow. Well, if you do that, you run the risk of overstretching the cable which is attached at the bow. I feel it would be safer to secure the cable with a transparent brick first and then apply the tiles to hide it along the way.
Seems that those electrical cables can cause a few headaches.
They're tiny and delicate, so yeah, they're not ideal if you've got big chubby fingers.
And speaking of chubby fingers, I'd like to bring your attention to the minifigs. Okay, they don't look like Lego ones for obvious legal reasons, I can accept that. But what I really don't like is the fact we have to assemble them from scratch. Lego's figs come with pre-assembled torsos and legs. Here, you've got to build those, and they're delicate things with tiny connections.
It's not so bad for the legs actually, but the arms and hands are the trickiest. And if you accidentally break an arm during assembly, you've got no spare ones with the Airship set like you have with the more recent ones.
Think they added spares in later sets because it's so delicate and they can easily break.
I feel FunWhole should change that decision and do what Lego do. Pre-assemble the torsos and legs already.
Going back to the build, perhaps the worst part of the process was setting up the stern. A lot of sections there are connected in places by a single stud, so when you try to attach it to other parts, chances are high they'll get dislodged and, worse still, fall in the hole where the battery pack is destined to go. I think it's interesting, having built the new stand at the Antique Store, two sets that were assembled about a year after this one, how much the assembly process has improved. Indeed, I was very surprised they hadn't come up with the touch terminals they use between levels to keep the power going through to light the upper levels while making it easy to remove those upper floors, like we had with the Antique Store. Here, the roof can be removed, somewhat, but it's still tethered to the junction box.
That makes it tricky to put minifigs in there and appreciate the internal decorations.
And it's such a shame too, because there's so many cool mini builds in there, like a 70s style record player and one of those old-fashioned Victorian phones. Compared with what they can do now, dealing with cables with the Airship is a massive pain, and there's a constant worry that you might accidentally pinch the cables when fixing them with basic plates and tiles. The new system they've adopted since is miles better, and despite the fact that they still have to deal with the tiny junction boxes, much more of a pleasure to work with. That doesn't mean to say the lighting here isn't good. Look. Despite its fiddliness, the results are truly impressive.
Wow, that's beautiful! And what's good is, unlike the copy of the Antique Store set we got, there were no missing parts and all the pieces fit without any issues.
To be honest, it really felt like building with Lego bricks, with the added advantage of lots of new and interesting parts, which made building this model possible.
Shame about the terrible use of decals, though.
Yes, I agree. That's actually the very worst aspect of this model, and I'm very happy this company has now discontinued the practice and have gone all in with prints. Despite these flaws, it's still a great model that's mostly enjoyable to build. There are a few fiddly moments here and there, but it's worth it for the end result.
The wings look a little silly, though, and the propeller at the top wouldn't be nearly big enough to lift the ship. And the smokestack at the back is very unrealistic and silly looking. Well, we do need some steam in a steampunk model.
I feel the wings are there more for decoration, and you're right about the propeller, but anything bigger would make it tricky to move around and display. For me, the worst part is the battery pack. Yes, there's a slot to put it in, but it's so deep, good luck getting it back out. Which is why I chose to leave it on the stern's balcony.
Probably a sensible option, Captain. For myself, I like how the ship is big enough and comfortable enough to place many minifigs in it.
True, but there's an issue there too. It feels like this ship was designed before the shape of FunWhole figs were locked in, and as a result, there are some stud placements that don't work because their bodies are too round. Interestingly enough though, regular LEGO minifigs would fit perfectly in those locations.
Which means LEGO minifigs can easily take over the ship.
If you're a fan of steampunk, you can get this set for around $90.
For over 1,600 pieces, that's a pretty good deal when compared with LEGO prices.
That's right. Something of this size would easily cost over $150.
And don't forget to include the cost of a lighting kit, which is bundled with FunWhole sets.
And on top of that, you can often get it even cheaper. FunWhole regularly run promotions on their website.
We'll leave a link in the description.
So look out for various promotional codes which can give you between 10 to 35% off the retail price for certain models.
And free gifts with purchases if you meet certain thresholds. When you consider the prices set by their bigger and more well-known competitor, that's pretty darn good value.
Not to mention that LEGO don't do steampunk, so if you're a fan of the genre and you're looking for a satisfying building experience, this is where you need to be. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll speak to you again next time.